My name is Ethan, and this is not just a story about love. It's not just about betrayal. This is about revenge. The kind of revenge that doesn't come with blood or violence, but with success, power, and dignity. A revenge so silent, yet so loud that it shook the very people who thought I was nothing. But let me start at the beginning. Back then, I wasn't rich. I wasn't powerful. I was just an ordinary guy, a college kid, hustling on part-time jobs, doing food deliveries on weekends, trying to pay tuition and rent. Life wasn't easy, but I had something that made it worth living. Her name was Sarah. Sarah was everything I could ask for. Beautiful, smart, funny. She made me believe in love, in the idea that no matter how hard life gets, as long as we have someone standing beside us, everything is possible. We'd spend hours walking across campus at night, talking about dreams, about the future. She'd tell me, "Ethan, one day you're going to make it big. I believe in you." And I'd smile and say, "As long as you're with me, that's all I need." For while life felt perfect, but you see, perfection never lasts. And sometimes the people you trust the most are the ones holding the sharpest knives. It started small. Sarah had this rich friend. His name was Ryan. You know the type: perfect hair, expensive car, daddy's money. He was everything I wasn't. Smooth, confident, always showing off his wealth. I never liked him. But Sarah? She'd always say, "Oh, don't worry, Ethan. Ryan's just a friend. He helps me with things. You don't need to feel insecure." And at first, I believed her. Because when you're in love, you want to believe. You blind yourself to the red flags because the thought of losing that person feels worse than the truth. Then came a first sign. One evening, Sarah said she was going out to study with friends. I didn't think much of it. Until later that night, when I was heading home from work, I saw Ryan's car parked outside a fancy restaurant. And through the window, there she was, Sarah, sitting across from him, laughing, smiling in a way she hadn't with me for weeks. I froze. My chest tightened. I wanted to walk in to ask her why. But instead, I walked away. Because sometimes silence is louder than words. The weeks that followed were worse. Late replies, canceled plans, and every time, the same excuse: "I'm just busy, Ethan. Don't overthink it." But deep down, I knew. Then one night, the truth hit me like a knife to the heart. I went to surprise her. I bought her flowers, her favorite chocolate, because I wanted to remind her of us. I knocked on her apartment door, and it wasn't Sarah who opened it. It was Ryan, shirtless, smirking. Behind him, Sarah stood, her hair messy, her face pale. She didn't say a word. And in that moment, I died. Ryan looked me in the eyes and said, "She deserves better, bro. Go work on yourself." And then he shut the door. My world collapsed. Nights turned into days, but the pain never stopped. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't focus on anything. The girl I had trusted with everything had chosen someone else. Not because she loved him more, but because he had money. And me? I was just Ethan, a broke college kid with nothing to offer. Or at least, that's what I thought. You know, heartbreak is a strange thing. It can destroy you, or it can build you. And in my case, it lit a fire. Because that night, staring at the ceiling, tears running down my face, I made a promise. I swore that I would rise. I swore that one day, Sarah and Ryan would see me again. But not as the broke kid they mocked. No, they'd see me as the man they could never reach. The man who made it without them. The man who turned pain into power. And that was the beginning of my revenge. They say heartbreak can break you apart. But mine? It burned me alive. For weeks, I was a ghost. I went to classes, but I couldn't listen. I went to work, but I couldn't focus. My friend tried to cheer me up, but nothing worked. At night, I'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying that moment over and over again. Ryan's smirk, Sarah's silence, the doors slamming in my face. I wanted to scream. I wanted to disappear. But most of all, I wanted to prove them wrong. One night, after drowning myself in cheap whiskey, I stumbled into the bathroom. I looked at myself in the mirror, pale, tired, broken. And for the first time, I spoke out loud. "Ethan, what are you doing? Are you really going to let them define you? Are you going to die like this, forgotten? Or are you going to rise?" I punched the sink, so hard cracked. And in that moment, something inside me cracked too, but not in defeat, in determination. I dropped the bottle. I picked up a notebook. On the first page, I wrote 3 words. Never again, Ethan. Never again would I beg for love. Never again would I be seen as less. Never again would I allow someone to make me feel worthless. The journey wasn't easy. In fact, it was hell. I started small, saving every penny from my delivery job. I spent nights learning, watching YouTube tutorials on business, marketing, investing. While Sarah was out partying with Ryan, I was sitting in my tiny room, reading books on entrepreneurship, taking notes, dreaming of something bigger. People laughed at me. My own friend said, "Come on, Ethan, stop dreaming. Guys like us don't make it big." But I didn't care, because every time I felt tired, every time I thought of giving up, I saw their faces. Ryan's smirk, Sarah's betrayal, and that pain, it pushed me harder than any motivation ever could. But pain alone isn't enough. Failure came again and again. My first business idea, a small online store. It flopped. I lost my savings. Second idea, a tutoring app. No one downloaded it. Third idea, investing in stocks. I lost more money. Each failure felt like another punch to the gut. But this time, I didn't stay down, because I had learned something. Every failure was a lesson. Every mistake was a step closer. And slowly, things started to change. I met a mentor. His name was David, an old man, a retired entrepreneur who ran a small bookstore near campus. I'd stop by sometimes to read in his shop, and one day he asked, "Ethan, you always look so focused. What's your story?" And for the first time, I told someone everything. The heartbreak, the betrayal, the revenge burning inside me. He listened quietly. Then he smiled and said, "Good. You have fire, but fire alone burns you out. You need direction. Sit down, kid. Let me teach you something." And so began a new chapter. David became the father figure I never had. He taught me about discipline, about resilience, about strategy. "Don't chase money," he said. "Chase value. If you create value, money will follow." I wrote those words down. I still remember them. Meanwhile, Sarah and Ryan's world seemed perfect. Photos on Instagram of vacations, fancy restaurants, expensive gifts. At first it hurt, but then I stopped looking because I realized while they were wasting time showing off, I was building something real. And slowly, my small projects began to work. My first profitable venture, a freelance marketing gig. Then another. Then more. For the first time, I was making real money. Not much, but enough to taste victory. But make no mistake, I was still far from the top. And the higher I wanted to climb, the harder the battles became. There were nights I slept only 2 hours. Days when clients canceled contracts. Weeks when I thought I'd lose it all. But every time I wanted to quit, I'd close my eyes, and I'd hear Ryan's voice. "She deserves better, bro. Go work on yourself." And I'd whisper back, "I am working on myself, Ryan. And one day, you'll regret every word." And that was how the struggle began. A broken man, slowly turning his wounds into weapons. Every setback became fuel. Every failure became a stepping stone. Because revenge isn't about the quick strike. It's about patience. It's about building yourself so high that your very existence becomes the punishment. And trust me, mine had only just begun. They say the darkest nights produce the brightest stars. I was living proof of that. After months of grinding, failing, learning, and failing again, something finally clicked. It wasn't luck. It wasn't talent. It was persistence. I started small, a digital marketing consultancy. A few clients here and there. Nothing glamorous. Nothing that would make anyone take notice. But I learned how to pitch, how to negotiate, how to deliver results. Every satisfied client became a stepping stone. Every positive review became a building block. Every small victory fueled my hunger for more. Meanwhile, Sarah and Ryan were living the illusion of perfection. Their pictures on social media made it look like they had it all. Luxury cars, fancy trips, expensive dinners. And every time I saw it, I smiled quietly, because I knew something they didn't. Illusions don't last, and real power takes time to build. I remember the first big break. One evening, I was pitching to a mid-sized company. a startup looking for someone to handle their entire online presence. I walked into the boardroom, nervous, palms sweaty. Ryan would have laughed at me if he had seen me, but I didn't think about him. I thought about proving something to myself. And when I spoke, something happened. The board listened. They nodded. They smiled. By the end of the meeting, I had my first major contract. That night, as I walked home, I didn't celebrate with champagne. I celebrated quietly, because I knew this was just the beginning. Months turned into years. I expanded my business, hired employees, learned from mistakes, and slowly, the empire grew. Sarah's world, on the other hand, was starting to crack. Ryan, for all his wealth, was reckless. He made bad investments. He overextended his business. Their lavish lifestyle was funded by arrogance, not stability. And every time I heard about their problems through mutual acquaintances, I smiled quietly, because I was still rising. And the higher you climb, the smaller those who doubted you seem. There were nights I stayed up for 48 hours straight, coffee cups stacked like towers around me. My body exhausted, my mind drained. But every time I wanted to give up, I remembered betrayal. I remembered Ryan's smirk. I remembered Sarah's cold words. And I whispered, not anymore. This ends now on my terms. By the 5th year, I was a self-made millionaire. No inheritance, no family wealth, just late nights, early mornings, and endless determination. The first time I saw my bank account hit 7 figures, I laughed. Not because of the money, but because the boy who had nothing was finally becoming a man they would never forget. And then came the media attention. I was featured in local business magazines, then national publications. They called me the young hustler who beat the odds. They called me the self-made entrepreneur you need to watch. And suddenly, Sarah's name was in my mind less and less. But Ryan's arrogance still haunted me. He had mocked my early attempts, laughed at my small successes, called me just another broke kid. And now, he would be the one watching. Success, however, doesn't come without sacrifice. Friends drifted away. Relationships were neglected. I had no time for dating, no time for leisure. I worked while others partied. I studied while others slept. And slowly, I became obsessed. But obsession has its price. And in the pursuit of revenge through success, I became something I never thought I would unstoppable. By the 10th year, I was a billionaire. A real one. Forbes listed, recognized globally. And then, I decided it was time. Time for them to see what they had thrown away. Sarah had married Ryan by this point. A lavish wedding, expensive gifts, luxury vacations. But appearances are deceptive. Behind the smiles were arguments, debts, and disappointment. Ryan's business was collapsing. And Sarah, she realized too late that money without love is meaningless. And that's when I planned my entrance. A charity gala, the biggest social event of the year. Every wealthy person in the city would be there. Every influencer, every media outlet, every important face would witness what I had become. I walked in, sharp suit, confident stride, eyes scanning the room. And then I saw them. Sarah, Ryan, smug faces, expecting to be admired. And instead, they froze. Because the boy they had ignored, the boy they had betrayed, was standing taller, stronger, richer, and untouchable. Sarah tried to approach me, her voice trembling. Ethan, it's been so long. Maybe we could catch up? I looked at her. I smiled. But it wasn't the smile of a man in love. It was the smile of a man victorious. Sarah, I said softly, you once told me love doesn't pay bills. You were right. Money does. And now, I have more than enough. But not for you. And then I walked away. Ryan, furious, tried to confront me. But no one paid attention. His empire was crumbling. His arrogance had finally caught up with him. And Sarah, she realized the magnitude of her mistake. That night, I didn't raise my voice. I didn't yell. I simply existed, and that was enough. Because true revenge is living well. Success is the best payback. And the higher you rise, the smaller those who betrayed you seem. It had been 10 years since the night they betrayed me. 10 years since Ryan's smirk and Sarah's cold silence had shattered my world. And now, the time had come for them to understand exactly what they had lost. I arrived at the city's most prestigious charity gala. Crystal chandeliers, flashing cameras, the hum of the elite. The air smelled of perfume, cologne, and ego. I walked in calm, collected, every step measured. And then I saw them. Sarah, standing next to Ryan. Her smile forced. Her laughter hollow. Ryan, confident, arrogant, just as I remembered. But now, powerless. I didn't need to confront them immediately. Success is a weapon sharper than any blade. I let the room notice me first. The cameras flashed. Reporters whispered. Eyes turned. Murmurs spread. Who is that? Isn't that Ethan Carter? The billionaire, entrepreneur? I let them watch as I moved through the crowd. Every handshake, every smile, every word calculated. They couldn't escape the truth. I had arrived. And I had arrived on top. Sarah approached me, her voice trembling, almost desperate. Ethan, it's been so long. Maybe we can talk, catch up. I looked at her. I smiled. But it wasn't a smile of forgiveness. It was the smile of someone who had outgrown her, who had risen far above her petty choices. Sarah, I said softly, do you remember the night you left me? The night you chose him over me? You told me love doesn't pay bills, and you were right. Money does. But it's never been about money for me. It's about proving that nothing can stop me, not betrayal, not heartbreak, not anyone. Her face went pale. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Ryan tried to intervene. Ethan, what is this? Don't. But the room ignored him. His arrogance, his wealth, meaningless. That night, the tables had turned. I walked through the gala, shaking hands, exchanging smiles, my presence commanding respect. Sarah and Ryan watched in silence. No one applauded them. No one noticed them. I was the star. I was the name on everyone's lips. And then, the final moment. Sarah, desperate, tried one last time. Ethan, please, we can fix this. I made a mistake. I looked at her, calm, collected. Sarah, I don't need anything from you. I never did. What I needed was myself. And I found me. You'll live with your choices. I live with mine on top. And with that, I turned and walked away. That night, I didn't yell. I didn't destroy them with words. I didn't ruin them with revenge schemes. I simply lived. Because sometimes the loudest revenge isn't noise. It isn't chaos. It isn't confrontation. It's existence. It's living better, stronger, higher. It's rising so far above that those who hurt you can only stare and realize they lost. I left the gala that night with a calm in my chest. The boy who had cried on the streets years ago, the man who had nothing, had become untouchable. I had rebuilt my life from heartbreak, from betrayal, from pain. And the people who had once mocked me could only watch in awe. True revenge is not about hurting others. It's about building yourself so high, so powerful, that the past becomes irrelevant. That's what I had done. That's what I would continue to do. And as I looked at the skyline that night, glittering with lights like stars, I whispered to myself, this is just the beginning. After the gala, after the whispers, after the stunned looks from Sarah and Ryan, life didn't suddenly change. I had reached the top, yes. I had achieved the success I dreamed of, built an empire from nothing. I had taken my heartbreak and forged it into something stronger than any pain I had known. But I realized something. Revenge isn't just about showing someone they were wrong. Revenge isn't about making them suffer. True revenge is freedom. Freedom from pain. Freedom from heartbreak. Freedom from being defined by someone else's choices. I spent the next few months quietly expanding my business, investing in people, helping those who were struggling. Because while revenge had motivated me, growth and purpose became my true fuel. I wasn't doing it to spite Sarah or Ryan anymore. I was doing it for myself. Sometimes I think about the boy I was, the one who cried in the rain, who felt powerless, who loved blindly. And I smile, because that boy made me who I am today. Every tear, every sleepless night, every setback, it led to this moment. Sarah eventually moved on. She tried to rebuild her life with Ryan, but their relationship never regained the spark it once had, if it ever had one at all. And Ryan, well, he learned the hard way that arrogance and entitlement can't replace hard work and perseverance. But none of that mattered to me. I didn't need to watch them fail. I didn't need to punish them. I simply lived. and living well became my ultimate victory. I learned that betrayal and heartbreak are powerful teachers. They can either destroy you, or they can forge you into someone unstoppable. And so, I moved forward. I built, I grew, I thrived. I found love again, not the kind that blinded me, but the kind that challenged me, supported me, and lifted me higher. I learned to value myself, my time, and my energy. And above all, I learned that the best revenge isn't in hurting someone else. It's in becoming someone they can never be, someone they can never touch, someone they cannot ignore. So, if you've been betrayed, if you've been hurt, remember this. You can either let it break you, or you can let it make you stronger. Every tear you shed, every sleepless night, every moment of doubt can be the fuel that propels you to heights you never imagined. And one day, when those who betrayed you look back, they won't see the person they hurt. They'll see someone they lost, someone who rose above, unshakable, unstoppable, untouchable. That's what I became. That's what I will always be. And that is the sweetest revenge of all.